Hey everyone, so VR gaming for me is something that I quite enjoy, and I enjoy doing it on the Meta Quest 3. But today I'm going to talk about the problems, and yes, there are some problems with VR gaming, especially for us gaming dads. So welcome everyone to the Dr. Blue Duck podcast. And the first problem is when I talk to people about VR gaming, I'm like, hey, you should get into some VR gaming, that way we can play Population 1 together. I say that to some of my fellow gaming dads, and they're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. It's like Fortnite in virtual reality. I mean, who could not really like that? And they're like, yeah, how much is this going to set me back? Like $150, $200, $300? And I'm like, more like $500 for the Meta Quest 3. And they're like, no, sorry. So that's kind of a problem right there, is the price. And also some gamers want to connect their Meta Quest 3 to a gaming PC. So then you would have to have a gaming PC on top of that. Honestly, I just mainly play my Meta Quest 3 just with the standalone units. To me, it's good enough. It works. I don't like to be tethered to a gaming PC. That kind of defeats the whole point of being in VR and moving around in a free VR environment. Another problem is not having the physical space to actually play. I mean, you do have to have some room. In regular gaming, you don't really have to have that much room at all. I mean, especially on a handheld, you could be in very confined spaces and play your handheld, or even having a monitor right in front of your face. Have you guys seen those esports pros where they play with their monitor right here in their face? I mean, to me, that just seems wild. It just hurts my eyes thinking about it, but I guess in a way that is kind of like VR. But anyways, some games require even more space. There's this really awesome game. It's called Richie's Plank Experience, and it's one of those awesome party games that you want to pull out and let people try your Quest 3. And what you do is you go up in this elevator super high in the sky, and then the elevator door opens and there's a plank. And the plank goes off of the building, and you have to slowly walk off the building, and you hear the winds blowing. You can almost feel it, and you look down. You have to stay right on that plank, or you will just fall all the way down. And sometimes there's a donut at the end of the plank, and you have to go bend down and pick up the donuts. And if you fall, you literally fall off the building, and it just does something to your heart. I know my mom, I wanted her to try to play it, and she put it on. She said, this is just too much for my heart. I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack just going up the elevator. So I'm like, okay. So be careful if you have a heart condition at all. It's probably not a game for you, but you do have to have some space. There's been other times where I'm playing certain games, I'm going outside of my barrier. So just be careful that you're not knocking holes in the wall or knocking over your gaming monitor or TV or anything like that. So you do have to have some space. I know there's this gaming YouTuber, and he actually turned one of his garages into a VR gaming space. But honestly, I play with not a whole lot of space, so you just have to be cautious. And to some people, that is a problem. Now, the Meta Quest 3 fits pretty well on my face. I mean, with those pancake lenses, it is somewhat comfortable, but it is still a VR headset on your face, on your head. There's that weight. So it's not the same as kicking back after a long day of work and just playing on a TV or on your handheld or even at a monitor. There is that weight. You aren't tethered, so that's pretty neat, but there is that weight. And for some people, that gets uncomfortable for long amounts of time. It's just not super natural either. I mean, we're not used to having heavy weights on our faces. So for some people, that's a real problem, that discomfort. I mean, for me, after a while, I get used to it, but there is a discomfort with the weight. Also, for other people, looking at something that's really close to your eyes for that long causes some sort of eye strain. I guess right now there's no studies that really show that it causes problems, but I mean, you're looking at something that close to your eyes for that long. I know I personally have experienced some eye strain doing VR for too long, but you can't do VR for too long because there is a battery, and that battery has a limit. Some people see this as a problem as well, because you're not going to be doing any 4-hour gaming sessions on your Quest 3, and you don't want to be in VR for that long. Also, it makes some people dizzy. I know that's kind of weird, but if you just think about it, you get on a roller coaster, some people get dizzy, especially as you get older in life. You tend to get sick on roller coasters, on those types of rides. I remember being a little kid, I would go on the spin outs or the spinner, whatever they called it. You guys remember the UFO at the fair? Yeah, I would ride some of those rides and just spin around and and spin around. I thought it was just like hilarious fun, but man, I try to do that now and I will be sick for like 4 hours. And for some people, and I experienced this a little bit in VR at first, some people do get a little bit of motion sickness. Some people get a lot of motion sickness when they're playing VR. Now, most games do have these kind of like blinders that just kind of shade out the borders of your screen so it doesn't make you feel as sick when you're moving around. Also, there's some games where they move naturally and you can set it just to kind of click to movements, and that kind of helps a lot as well. So most games do have some type of control settings that help combat that motion sickness if you are someone who is prone to motion sickness at all. But there are some people who just get sick no matter what, and that is a problem. Now, VR games are noticeably shorter than regular games, which for me as a gaming dad, that's not a big issue. I don't have a whole lot of time to game anyways, but if you're looking for a game that has like a 1,000 hour storyline, VR games are not going to be that, and you still might be paying like $30 to $40 per game, sometimes even a little bit more. So you have to be okay in VR gaming to pay about $30 to $40 for a game that might only have about 5 to 6 hours of story to it. But that's why I always say go back to Population 1, one of my favorite games, because it's like Fortnite, you can just play endlessly. And speaking about games, the library is not that big right now in VR, especially in the MetaQuest 3. You're not going to have an endless supply of games to play and a super, super large backlog. I mean, things might change once the Steam frame comes out, if it ever does come out, and they add more games for that. But right now, there's just not a huge library, so you have to be okay with that. Some people see that as a serious problem. For me, I have my evergreen game, which is Population 1, and I play other games from time to time, which are fun. So yeah, you just got to be okay with that. Now, VR gaming is kind of an isolated experience in a way, where if you have your buddies come over or you have your kids being a gaming dad there on the couch with you, or other people hanging out, your wife or whoever just chilling there, you can have kind of this community gaming experience where you're gaming, you're talking, you're being somewhat social at the same time. I know I do that a lot, especially on my Steam Deck or Switch 2. But with VR, you put that thing on, you're in a different world. Everything else is closed off and you're in this isolated VR environment. It is more of an isolated gaming experience. So if you are a social gamer, VR gaming might not be that great for you. And even streaming, if you're a streamer, right now streaming isn't super convenient with VR. And there are ways to work around, but it's just not super convenient. Whereas in regular gaming, you can just have one monitor that has your gameplay, a side monitor that has your chats and all of that going on, and then a camera so you can look at that side monitor, see how you look. In VR, it's not that easy. Some people pull it off, but you got to really know what you're doing. It's not so natural. So if you're a virtual reality streamer, there are going to be some challenges that come up that you're going to have to overcome. And as something else to add, because this gaming specifically for gaming dads, be careful if you have little kids around, because if you have like a toddler and they don't understand that you're not looking at them, even though you have goggles on, you might be looking at them, they might not understand that you can't see them at that moment, so they might think you're neglecting them. So you might want to do your VR gaming while they're in bed or taking a nap or doing something else. That way they don't come up and they're like, "Daddy, Daddy," and they're like trying to get your attention and you just kind of just like ignore them, because we never want gaming to hurt our relationship with our kids. Another problem with VR gaming is the community. It's not as big. I mean, you can find these huge social groups online of other games. There might be like 10 to 20,000 people in these smaller groups, and they're all sharing experiences and thoughts and opinions about a game. But in VR gaming, it's not going to be like that. You might find a few other people or smaller groups online that share your same passion about a VR game. It's just not mainstream at all right now, if it will ever be. But right now, it's definitely not mainstream. I mean, you might be lucky to find someone else who plays the same VR game that you do. I know, being a high school art teacher, I talk a lot about gaming to my students to kind of build connection. And only 3 times ever have I ever met students who say they play in VR. So you're just not going to have that relatability with as many people as you would with traditional gaming. Another problem for some people is you will need a strong Wi-Fi network for VR gaming. For the Quest 3, you need some powerful Wi-Fi because you're not tethered into the wall or tethered into a gaming PC. And for me, luckily, I live in a house where we have very strong Wi-Fi, but for a lot of people, I know that is a huge challenge. And I know that's even a bigger challenge for people that live in more rural areas where the Wi-Fi and internet's just super low. Another problem with VR gaming is that we don't know the future yet of VR gaming. So, do you want to invest in a library of games or in a certain headsets when VR gaming might not be here in the next 5 or 10 years? I mean, honestly, I think it will be with the advancement of technology, with smaller and smaller lenses and smaller goggles. I think VR is here to stay, but VR is going to go through some high points and low points and high points and low points, and there is still no guarantee that it will be here in the future. We have even seen with Meta where some ways they're taking VR to more of a business tool, and it seems like then the pendulum swings back to more of gaming. We just don't know. I honestly think it's here to stay, but there is no guarantee on that. And to throw down $500 for a Quest 3 and then games and games and games on top of that, that's a pretty pricey investment for something where there's really no guarantee that it will be here in the future. So me personally, I love VR. And I don't want to talk anyone out of the VR experience. I just wanted to be upfront and talk to you about some of the current problems and issues with VR gaming right now. Now, all these won't affect everyone, and for me, they really don't affect me that much. I am a VR gamer because I'm passionate about all gaming. So for me, it's just I want to experience what it is to game in VR, and I do. It's not something that I do every single day. Shoot, it's not even something that I do once a week, but every other week or so, I put on my headset and I jump into this VR world and I'm just like, wow, this is truly awesome. This is truly amazing. I mean, back as a kid growing up in the 80s, if I could just experience that just for 5 minutes, I would have been blown away. I mean, you're literally in a virtual reality environment where everything around you just looks so different and surreal sometimes. Now, I do want to add to that, if you jump into VR gaming for the first time, don't expect PlayStation 5 Pro graphics. Expect more like, I don't know, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2 graphics. I mean, shapes and textures are gonna look a lot more simplified, but at the same time, you're in this three-dimensional environment, which makes up for the lack of modern graphics, in my opinion. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you gamers out there, you gaming dads, just in case you are interested in jumping into VR gaming with the Meta Quest 3. And I just wanted to throw those out there for you, not as so much warnings, but as caution so you guys know what you're getting into before you're throwing down all that money and time. So anyways, if you guys don't know me, I'm a high school art teacher. I'm actually recording this during my lunch break, and I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I love my family, I love God, and I just want to create a positive, uplifting gaming community here. So if you're about that, go ahead and let me know in the comments. Just give a shout out that there are other gaming dads out there. And as always, be kind, use your minds, and game on.